Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, here with some absolutely awesome Mustang news to bring you guys into the weekend. And that, of course, is the 2020 GT500. It's finally been uncovered. Well, kinda, right? I mean, come on. Of course, this news comes to us from our friends over at Mustang6G.com, an awesome forum, by the way, for Mustang fans. If you haven't already, cruise on over there, check it out. It's a great place, especially if you own an S550. Now, just yesterday, these guys posted a series of photos from the preeminent automotive spy photographer, KGP Photography, showing us our beloved Halo Mustang practically undressed, if you will, but still donning some camo as to not give everything totally away. And this is amazing, right? Because up until now, all of the spy shots we've seen of this car has featured it in a bunch of baggy and bulky camo, and it's really left a lot to the imagination. That is, of course, until Ford released their teaser at the Detroit Auto Show this year, featuring the Shelby in all of its CGI'd glory, confirming the car is coming in 2019. But with all that said, let's talk a little bit more about what we're seeing here with these newly released spy photos and compare them to what Ford gave us back in the teaser video. And what do you say we start up front? Because honestly, this is the most important part of the car, at least to me, from a visual and functional aspect. Now, first up, guys, a very hot topic in the Mustang community right now, and that is Ford's decision to stick with these 2015 through 17 headlights and not go with the 2018 headlights, much like the GT350 did. Now, honestly, this really isn't a huge surprise, as the teaser video basically alluded to this back in January, but seeing it again on this prototype recently kind of re-stoked the fire. Now, with that said, there are a few rumors swirling about that the GT500 will be using the carbon composite radiator support and components from the GT350, which will allow for that lower nose, but also maintaining some of the great aerodynamics of the GT500's little brother. And honestly, guys, functionality aside, I think there are a lot of owners out there who honestly prefer the look of the 15 through 17 headlights over the 18, myself included. But moving to the grille area, and front and center, guys, you can't miss it, the massive Cobra logo, and again, that very fine looking mesh covering up both the upper and lower grille openings, similar to what we did see in the teaser video. Inside that grille, however, is another noticeable feature, and that is this opening here, which looks to be dedicated to intake purposes, which again is something similar to the GT350, but the GT500 here, on the other hand, looks a little bit larger, partially because it's not being blocked by those grille fangs. Now, another big thing, or things that caught my eye up front, were these two rather large heat exchangers or coolers, kind of just hanging out in these openings of the lower fascia, which honestly could be used for a couple of different things, but I'm guessing at least one, if not both, will be dedicated to help cool that newer 2.65 liter TVS blower underneath that absolutely massive bulging hood, which, by the way, looks to be right on par with what Ford showed us in that teaser video, and thank goodness, because that thing looks completely badass. Also worth noting is that the front track width, and more specifically the front fender area, seems noticeably wider on the GT500 compared to the GT350, which was wider than a standard GT. Now, even though it's a little tough to see here with the camo in place, but those vertical details next to the headlight seem to line up with the CGI'd car in Ford's teaser video, although the black between the fender and the front fascia tends to make it a little bit more pronounced on that teaser, so ultimately we'll just have to wait and see what lies underneath this vinyl wrap. Front chin spoiler, on the other hand, looks pretty aggressive overall, especially with these little winglets towards the end that kind of continue to the side splitter area. And with that said, let's move to the side of the car, because there's certainly some interesting stuff going on there. As you can see with this pic here, that splitter detail that starts up front carries its way over to the side, but only for a small portion, and it's immediately behind that front wheel and then kind of dives back into the car after the A-pillar. Certainly very interesting from a visual standpoint. You really don't see that too much, but I'd imagine it exists merely for functional reasons and not for aesthetics. But that side splitter, along with the wheels, are essentially dead ringers for what we saw in that teaser video. And with that said, what do you guys think of these things, man? You digging these wheels? Because me personally, I'm getting a more aggressive Boss Laguna Seca style feel here with these things. And overall, I'm really digging them. And plus, I think they'll look a lot better on the finished product. and without all of that goofy camo. Now, wrapped around those new GT500 wheels are a set of Michelin Pilot Sport tires, but the exact model isn't exactly clear, as some of the detail or markings have actually been removed or rubbed off. This could possibly mean that the new Shelby is getting a unique tire, much like Nitto did for the Dodge Demon, and even like what Ford and Goodyear did back for the 13 and 14 Shelby GT500. Also worth noting, these brakes are now devoid of the slots we saw with those early spy photos, instead just boasting massive rotors and 6-piston calipers up front, with an equally impressive rotor and a dual caliper setup in the rear. And speaking of the rear, let's move to the back of the car, where 3 big things jump out at me. First and foremost, that massive track-inspired wing we saw in the teaser video is not present here on the prototype, which really isn't a big deal to me because one would assume they're just saving that for the final production car. Secondly, it is kind of odd that Ford did decide to go with the 2018 taillights while still using the pre-refresh headlights. However, if we go back to the teaser video, I know we've been saying that a lot this video, you will see that's been Ford's plan all along, as you can barely make out those more angular taillights on the CGI'd car. Last but not least, them tips though, right? I mean, look at these things. Absolutely massive quads surrounded by the new rear valance that, again, we saw the first glimpse on that teaser video. But altogether, what does this tell us? Well, it tells us that the new GT500 isn't going to be just some slightly tweaked or massaged GT or GT350. Instead, it's going to be an incredibly radical and muscular version of the S550 with over 700 horsepower to boot. So again, look forward to seeing a lot more of this thing, maybe a little bit more uncovered as we get closer to 2019. But as always, guys, the big question is, what are you thinking about this thing? I know it's a little hard to get a full gauge of what this car will be about until we see it fully revealed, but judging by the looks of this thing in the spy photos, the teaser video is pretty accurate. Now, before we get into the fun giveaway stuff, let's quickly revisit our friend, the 2019 Bullet, as we've been following this thing for a while now, as we finally have confirmed horsepower and torque figures from Ford, and needless to say, they are pretty impressive. Now, thanks to a trio of parts from the GT350, including the cold air intake, the 87mm throttle body, and intake manifold, Ford was able to pump the power output to 480 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque to the crank, which is good enough, by the way, to raise the top speed to 163 miles an hour, which is up 8 from the standard GT. Price point for this thing will start right around $47,000, definitely not cheap. And again, we'll include the dark Highland green shown here. Give me all of that, I love it, in addition to the shadow black, which, by the way, you can see right there. All right, before we get out of here, we've got some business to take care of, because in the last installment of Mustang News, we did announce an AWE exhaust giveaway, and that winner is Popemaster BS. I'm not gonna ask what that means, but congrats, you are the proud new owner of a fine AWE exhaust system. Now, for this episode, we have something slightly smaller to give away, but it's very exciting for us here at AM. That's because our 10th annual American Muscle Mustang show is right around the corner, 10th anniversary. I can't believe it, they grow up so fast. But this year we actually moved it up a couple of months to June 16th at Maple Grove Raceway. Always a good time, guys, lots of cool cars to check out. And honestly, if you've never been to one of our shows, this is the one you should check out because, again, 10th anniversary, man, we're doing it big, we're gonna have fun. So come on out, and if you haven't bought your ticket yet, well, are you in luck? Because we are giving one away right now in addition to a $100 gift card. All you have to do to get in on the fun, comment, subscribe, and if you live on the West Coast, I don't want to hear excuses. Hop on a plane, get your butt here. It'll be a lot of fun. So again, drop us a comment. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.